think there really is a Mount Rushmore of cruise ships. Oasis of the Seas deserves to be on the Mount Rushmore. But similar to how maybe you compare a sports legend from 50 years ago to today, how does a ship that is 16 years old, which in cruise ship years is roughly 75, compare to cruise ships today? And I recently sailed on Royal Caribbean's Oasis of the Seas for the first time in a number of years, and a lot has changed since the last time I was on Oasis in terms of the fleet and some of the innovations here. And today, we're doing our Gold Bar review of the Oasis of the Seas. And joining me to do her best wrestling promo is Beci Mahnken from MEI Travel. Hello, Becky.
Well, it's great to be here again. And do you want me to like run down the hallway there and scream, the old card?
It would help if you started off whatever your first point is with, let me tell you something, brother, and then go from there. But
Clearly, you're a much bigger WWE person than I am.
Well, we went through about Oasis of the Seas. We actually wrapping up. We're bringing this episode live on board the ship since the last day of our Royal Korean Blog group cruise, which of course will be hosted with NEI Travel. And it's been a great week here on Oasis. And I think I see for a lot of folks who enjoyed being on Oasis. You know, maybe it's their first time. Maybe it's their first time in a while, like myself. I was trying to do the math. I think I had been on Oasis like, sorry, it's like maybe 2 or 3 years ago, quite frankly. But even then, like I said at the top of the episode, so much has changed in the fleet. We have the Icon class now, which in my reconnaissance of what I'm talking about. If you've been on an Icon class ship and you've experienced destination elevators and then gone back to any other ship in the fleet and you get the elevator on day one, you're like, oh, it's these elevators.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I'm talking about. There's kinds of things that like it ages a ship almost instantly. And Oasis did that when she came out in 2009. When Oasis came out, I was writing the review of the ship, and I said, when Oasis came out, it basically made every other ship that came before it not obsolete, but obsolete. Like
Yeah.
it felt like inadequate.
Yeah, because the ships that were the largest ships afloat at that time were the Independence of the Seas was the
Yep.
latest one, and it was 155 gross tonnage.
Yeah.
And I remember when they announced that they were going to do the Oasis class ships, and they said it was going to be 225 gross tonnage, which you sat there, you went, how could that possibly float?
Yeah.
Let alone,
Mhm.
house as many people as they're saying. Yeah, it's going to have 6,000 people on board. You're like, what? So to go from the Independence, which was again the largest ship anywhere at that time, to this, it was a huge step up in the cruising experience.
Yeah, I remember when seeing the advertisements and the promos for Oasis. Back then, we hadn't even started Wilkie Blog. It was just like, you couldn't help but notice this is a big deal. It's like it caught a lot of people's attention because of how massive the ship was and how much it really leapfrogged the ship before that. And when and that was such a major change. So Oasis, is and was a game changer. But how does it compare in 2025 to the rest of the fleet? Now, the good news is it did get a major upgrade in 2019.
Right.
And I think its amplification is among the better ones that got amplified. I love a lot of the changes they did. We're actually sitting here in Music Hall, which, to the dismay of the Crown and Anchor members, that is used to be the Dino Lounge. I do think it's a great venue in here. And you have Spotlight Karaoke. You have Portside Barbecue, which I will say, have you eaten there,
I
Oscar?
have not, but I've talked to a lot of the people who have and said it is probably the best food on board the ship.
You should go.
So-
Gerald is the single lunch at Portside Barbecue this afternoon. You should go with Gerald.
It looks great.
It's-
I mean, the venue has inside seating and the outdoor seating up on the deck, so it looks fantastic.
That is one of the best things they've had, and it's still to this day I'm shocked they have not spread Portside Barbecue to other ships. I mean, I'm okay with the mason jars. If that's the counter.
It's your go-to. That's that emotion.
Mm-hmm. But it is really good. And of course they added the water slides. They added a logo fresh. So there's some good upgrades to this ship. I think the biggest thing about Oasis, especially compared to Wonder and Utopia, because that's really the two ships I kind of hold it against. I mean, I think Harmony and Symphony did nice things as well, and I love those ships for different reasons. I feel like number one, the thing that really stood out to me in the cabin, a lack of first. Let's obviously it's gonna look like a 2009 cabin, but the storage space, a lack thereof. What I forgot that one of the changes I think Harmony had at first is started adding the quantum class storage stuff where you have the above the bed
Right.
cabinetry. I was just had when I got my room, we're in an ocean view balcony. I was like, oh, there's not a lot of storage space in this room. I was then reminded, oh, that was like a something that got added years later. Although it's interesting as I say all this, I think the iPad version sometimes does have storage space anyway. So
they kind of go backwards on
yeah,
yeah. The one thing I notice that I'll automatically go to now is I'm looking for my USB cords.
yes,
And
yes,
I'll have it's nice to have two or three or multiple outlets now, which weren't there before. But I'm looking for my USB next to the bed. And
yeah.
it's not there.
And the all there is in the standard cabinets are the three power outlets, right? It's like a power strip they added there, and they're like, here you go, three instead of two.
Yeah.
Enjoy. And yeah, it's really lacking in that regard.
It is.
The one thing I think the one area of Oasis that truly I hesitate to use the word hate, but I'm gonna put one area that is the worst part of the ship is the windjammer. It is tiny. And this is something they changed on Utopia and Wonder.
Right.
Icon has because back in the day when they developed Oasis, they were like, "Oh, we're going to develop so many restaurants that people aren't going to be so dependent on the Windjammer. We're going to come up with Solarium Bistro. We're going to come up with what was before a logo, Whiteout Cafe, I think was the thing over there, and the Seafood Shack. Man, rest in peace. And a few other concepts. The idea was they didn't think people would be that dependent on it. So they thought it's small. In reality, people are like, no, they want their windjammer. It's like the Chili song. I'll be that good, that good, that great. So it's like in fact, people just want they want, and so it gets inundated very quickly.
Yeah, at the it opens at 5:30 for dinner, and there's already a huge line of people waiting to get in because I think part of it is if you go in after 6 o'clock, it's packed. You can't find a place to sit it. It's really condensed in there, and the way the food is laid out, it's not that efficient. So you're running into each other. It's very inconvenient. It's not a great way. But what you can see now, though, is the progress, how they improved from ship to ship to ship. So if you look from now to Utopia, you can see where they went, yeah, that was a great concept on paper, and it totally doesn't work. So let's change it up.
Yeah, it's interesting you see that evolution. Like lime and coconut, they added during the reefer in 2019, and it's a nice setup. But clearly, they took the old pool bar setup, repainted it, new menus, obviously. But you compare that again to Utopia Wonder, especially Utopia, which has a really fantastic layout, a more of an integrated setup, and you have that area in the middle between. It's hard to describe, but on the main pool deck, so that's deck 15 on Utopia. They carved out more space over there for the bar that faces inwards, which is better layout. You can see like the evolution of the concepts.
Right.
So Oasis has a lot of those things that are like they're good, but having seen them on other ships, you kind of like, oh well, I kind of prefer the newer version of that. But you know, it's part of that evolution of that.
Yeah, exactly. But going back to the first thing you mentioned is my biggest pet peeve are those darn elevators. And yeah, when I get in here and I walk to the elevator and I realize, oh my God, I'm going with it. 6, 7, 8. No, I'm sorry, sir, you can't get in. Okay, go ahead and try 9, 10. And you finally get to 11 to get out. It's interesting they did the test with a couple of what ship it was, the Ellers below. And while it's not as great as Icon class, because the Icon class has 12 elevator banks in one location. So you have 12 possibilities rather than having 6 on one side and 6 on the other.
Yeah.
So it's not as efficient, but it's still better than in this.
Yeah. It's the one area though you have mentioned I thought you always near and dear to your heart is your suite area. So one thing that's different on Oasis versus New Ships is there's no suite neighborhood. They added that with Wonder. Utopia has it, and it's not a big deal. This is definitely a first world problem kind of situation.
Exactly.
But there's no eighth neighborhood. And the biggest thing for me is the sweet sun deck is really where you noticed it. The one on Oasis here there is a bar, but there's like very little shade. There's no pool or water access there. And it's in an area, it's at the front of the ship. It's just kind of disjointed and kind of it doesn't work nearly as well as the one on Wonder Eagle, but that's my next cuteness, being able to go up there and enjoy that.
Yeah, 100%. Because it almost feels like overflow rather than an extra add-on activity that you can do up there. It just doesn't. It feels disjointed. And when they did all of the upgrades to the pool decks here, you really want to be where that action is and where those pools are. So if you don't have water, it's almost like, well, if I can't find a deck chair, then at least I can go up to the suite deck.
Yeah. No, makes a whole sense. So I think again, at the time it was fine, but we've seen the differences there. So you're picking these ships, I mean, I don't think anything here we're talking about is a reason not to book Oasis.
Yeah.
But there are things that I think you notice about a ship, and when you're talking about picking one ship over another, these are considerations that may or may not factor. Obviously, if you're not staying in the suite, well, the suite on deck configuration is irrelevant to you. But little things like it's quality of life stuff, right? Power outlets, windjammer. These are things, the elevators, these are just things that like you'll notice as you cruise more, but it's still a great ship. I will say the great thing about Oasis, I love the fact the potluck area is one better than the on-air before it. Portside Barbecue alone might be a reason to book Oasis in and of itself. I mean, it really is that good.
You really like your barbecue.
I mean, that is finger looking good. We can't use that phrase, but it is really, really, and the barbecue sauce, you have to put that on there. That makes it like takes up to another notch in terms of the quality there. It's
Mason jar or portside barbecue if you had to choose.
oh, for food, portside barbecue without a shadow of a doubt. But Mason jar is the bar that I love there. Yeah, I mean it's not even a contest. This is like asking me to pick, Izumi or Hooked. Like it's that level of like.
Do you know the answer to that? I'm good there.
What was your favorite thing about Oasis, Becky?
You know what? Coming back to it, I remember the very first time when I walked on board for the media event when this came. That's how old I am right now. Walking in and seeing the promenade for the very first time, how it kind of took my breath away because this was a huge ship and I'd never seen anything like that at the time. And after you've been on MyCon and you walk on, and this is like, oh, this is nice. It's accommodating, but man, there's a lot of people on this ship, and because it's designed so much more differently than Icon is, you feel it.
Yeah.
You feel the number of people who are on board. I'm with you. You should not come on board the Oasis if this is the right price, if this is the right itinerary, this is a good, solid vacation experience. And I think just returning to it to appreciate how it started, how the mega ship started, how it is now,
Yeah.
seeing an evolution.
Yeah, that you mentioned something I forgot to talk about. The Oasis class is very inward facing,
Yeah.
right? And that's something they fixed on Icon, which is that the access to the ocean or the water views, whether it is Pearl Cafe and being able to actually see the ocean, whether it is the pool deck and have access to just lots of water, whether it is the pool or the ocean itself. That was the big thing there. I will also say, and this is Matt being mad now, I love Lane Acres, but can we please get some air conditioning?
Yeah.
I'm no more outdoor planators, please. I think Roll has gotten that. We're pretty good about that. I have house all indoors. Some of the applications to put it indoors, whether it's Odyssey has it indoors. But man, it's just like if you're not in that little annex by the arcade, I mean I'm just overly sensitive, but it's too darn hot over there.
It's a lot down there, and that's why I'm glad what they did with Icon. And I still have an issue with it being the entrance to the ice rink. So when you go in and out of shows, going right through Playmakers, it kind of takes away from the serenity that can be Playmakers. But it's so much better to not have to go outside. I'm with you there.
Yeah, and I am excited for Oasis Bill. Hasn't come yet, but the change is kind of funny. The casino change they made on Utopia and Wonder to remove the Crown Lounge and Blaze. So like on the one hand, I don't like they got rid of Blaze. I think it's a better comedy club venue. But on the other hand, the change when the expansion of the non-toy casino over there is incredible on Utopia.
Yeah.
So I think that's like I would say this. While I do love Blaze, oh man, I mean, it's going to come on you, so I'm not Oasis, but it is a notably better change that I think will be coming.
So let me throw out on my complaints is they didn't seem to have put in the air circulation in the casino that they've done so well on the newer ships. It's really smoky and it really sells in this casino.
Yeah. Also, because they don't have, remember on Wonder Utopia, they have those glass doors or whatever
Right.
by the elevator bank, which the Oasis doesn't have. So it really does. I mean, if you're in that first table on main iron on deck 4,
Oh, you can.
you're definitely selling that.
Yeah. Or anywhere up that if you're 2 or 3 decks up on the staircase, you can smell. It's like, oh yeah, the casino was close.
Can I complain on one more thing? Old
You
man
sure can.
complaints.
Get off my lawn.
Yeah, this ship has like hot flashes. You go on one deck and it is 100 degrees, and you go to the other deck and it is freezing. And it is like, I usually indoors on roller Caribbean ships, it's usually freezing all the time, which I love. But some decks you go there and I'm like, I don't care what's on this deck, I'm going on this deck. It's too, like basically what happens, there's an open door somewhere, like out to the promenade or whatever. But it seems to be particularly, the problem is exacerbated a little bit more on this ship, where it's like, it is some decks you walk down the staircases and it's like, wow.
Or even on the older ships, like this one, I ran into this. The seals on the balcony doors sometimes don't work exactly as they should. I woke up in the middle of the night and there was no air conditioning on. I couldn't figure it out. I went out and my balcony door was open. And you're like, all right, maybe I didn't get that just right. And of course, yes, I didn't. But it took them maintenance to come in and go, oh, we need to just kind of fix this here. And so I'm going to.
Our air conditioning in our room was not great. And then after day 5 or so, I finally had enough of it. And I called maintenance, and to their credit, they came back. We opened the door later that evening, and it was a meat locker in there, which I absolutely love. I hated it, but I was like, great, this is how it's supposed to be.
Yes. That's one place where you and I agree.
Yes.
So I'm okay with that.
Yeah. I mean, overall, Oasis is a great ship. I like it. If you've been on newer ships, yes, of course, you will notice some of the changes there. This is true of any ship in the fleet when you're looking at that kind of age. The good news is, I think the upgrades have made a difference. This is not like, Enchantment of the Seas level. Yeah, that kind of thing. And for what it is, even 7-night cruise, I know Oasis is going to shift to a 3 and 4 next year, but I think it's totally more than that. But there's plenty to do. We're not bored, and I do think those changes have at least kept Oasis on a competitive level with the newer ships. And I think really, obviously, cruise nerds like myself notice these little minor things, but I don't think this is enough to make anybody say, "Oh no, Oasis is like a bad choice." Not to mention the fact, I am certain we're probably paying less on Oasis.
Yes.
We'd be paying on one of the newer ships, which is always a huge benefit.
Yeah, I completely agree. There are, with almost any cruise line, there are ships that you just go, no, that's probably not the best use of your time and money. But again, Oasis doesn't fall into that circle for me.
Well, Becky, thanks for joining us here. And the next time I hear from you on the podcast, unless I need you for a specific topic, we'll bring you on board, could be, at the very least, Brilliance of the Seas in March 1st, 2026 is our next group cruise.
Yeah, it is. And it's coming up fast.
Yeah.
I have no idea that it seems like we were just on the last group cruise, which was just as many months ago. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy how quickly it goes. But it's not crazy? Booking group cruises.
It's true.
So we go together and sail together March 1st out of San Juan, Puerto Rico. And it's a pretty amazing itinerary. Because we're going to San Juan, we're going to Aruba, we're doing an overnight there.
I do believe so.
Yeah, or 2 days, and then Curacao, and we're going to a full I've never been to before.
A port you haven't been to?
Mm-hmm.
This is awesome.
And everything I've read online looks like it's very pretty. So
it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. There's a lot to do. So if anybody wants to join us, there's still space.
And check out royalcaribbeanblog.com/events for more information. Thank you for joining us here.
Thanks for having me.
All right, friends, time to answer listener emails. This is the part of the episode where I answer emails you've sent me. You can always email me your questions, matt@royalcaribbeanblog.com. First email is from Sherry. So grateful I found your blog and newsletter. I'm not on any social media and barely have time to check my personal email, but I love all your videos, listening to your podcasts, and reading your newsletters. I also love all your staff's articles. Cruising, traveling is my happy place. My husband and I got engaged on Explorer of the Seas. Our honeymoon was on Brilliance, and we're celebrating our son's bar mitzvah on Wonder of the Seas. My husband, our 2 boys, ages 20 and 17, and I are all Diamond members with Royal Caribbean. Our boys grew up traveling on Royal Caribbean ships. The question I have for you, are there any suggestions or recommendations for how our 20-year-old son can meet other young adult cruisers? When we cruise when he aged out of the teen club, he has a hard time meeting other young adults. He likes to go to meetups with that age group and said they're pretty cringe. Since we get 2 rooms, our younger son seems to meet a lot of older teens from the teen lounge, and basically their room was their party room. But our older son was hanging out with the younger kids. We're going on Quantum in June 2026 for our son's high school graduation, and would really appreciate any recommendations you might have. This is a tough one, because when you're between the ages of 18 and 21, you're in this like no man's land of you're too old for the teen club, but you're too young to drink, right? And it's tough. Royal Caribbean did introduce the Hyperlink program, which I'm not sure if that's what you meant when you said that he would go to the meetups for that age group and said they were cringe. That is basically your only refuge, I would say, because this was designed for, I believe it's for anybody who's between the age of 18 and 23 or 25. And it's their best attempt at it. Basically, they have special events that are for guests that are that age. It's not like Adventure Ocean or the Teen Club where they actually check your age. It's just like here's where it's going to be. And if you'd like to come, you can come. And I remember when they first opened up, we sent one of our writers over there because she was within that age group at the time. And she kind of said the same thing. Like, she enjoyed it. She had a good time overall. But cringe is a good way to put it. It depends on who's there. Sometimes you get people that are, really in tune with you. And other times you get people that are really just like, clearly not on the same wavelength as you. Let's put it that way. And this is true, by the way, of the Teen Club and a variety of other, you go to almost any event. It's just a luck of the draw who actually shows up there. So I would say this. Number one, whether he's been to Hyperlink or not before, it's still your best bet. And every cruise is different. Every cruise is different people on board. And all you need to do is find 1 or 2 folks that, are your age and have kind of hit it off. And hey, maybe that's a start right there. That's probably what I would recommend. Go there on the first night that they have Hyperlink. Usually it's almost always in the evening, like after 10 o'clock, but check the Royal Caribbean app for that. Beyond that, I don't really have any good recommendations because, Royal Caribbean's general events lean in all ages, right? You go to trivia and find 6-year-olds, 16-year-olds, and 60-year-olds. So it's really a matter of, more of the luck there. But Hyperlink is probably your best bet other than just, dumb luck running into people, which I wish I had a better suggestion. The only thing I could say is maybe allow your son to bring a friend. Cruises are always better with friends in general. And if he can bring a friend with him, then at least he has a wingman or somebody just to hang out with, and it doesn't seem so lonely, if you will. Stephen Crosby has our next email. We're getting ready to go on Brilliance of the Seas to Canada. We had a question for our little traveling group. Is tomato juice available and is it free, or do we need the drink package? I can tell you from experience, it is included. Yeah, it's available. I always order it in breakfast, obviously. It's more of a breakfast drink. But you can go to the Windjammer, main dining room, wherever, Solarium Bistro, and it's included. It's just like water or juice. There's no cost to it. So sometimes you have to repeat yourself. They're like, I'd like having tomato juice. People are like, what? I love tomato juice, guys. This is something I grew up on this stuff, and then I learned as I got older, that's not the most common drink to love, but I do love it, and yeah, it's included, so you're good to go on that front. Next email is from Craig, who writes, "Good day, Matt. 311 days till Allure of the Seas. Firstly, I've got to say I love your podcast. I've been listening for about 18 months now and taking our first cruise around New Zealand on Ovation of the Seas. Here in Perth, Australia, we're 12 hours in front of you than Florida, so I'm at work when you go live and I catch up the following day. We're a family of 4, 13 and 17-year-old kids, and since traveling will take us 32 hours to get to Florida, we're including a Disney World visit on the trip. Too bloody far to travel for an 8-night cruise. The plan is 5 days going to Disney, 1 day at Kennedy Space Center, 2 nights in Fort Lauderdale, and a day doing the Everglades, and then a day in Miami, and then the 8-night Southern Caribbean and Perfect Day cruise on Allure. Can you advise if 5 days is long enough at Disney World, and what's going to be the best way to get from Disney World down to Allure at Fort Lauderdale? Unfortunately, the wife doesn't pack light, and we'll probably have 6 larger suitcases for the trip. Also, is there anything else us Aussies should experience while in Florida? Hope to hear from you either on the podcast or via email. Thanks, keep up the great work. So, this is a great question. Is 5 days enough to do Disney World? Yeah. I mean, the answer is technically no, but I mean, it's enough days to hit all the major stuff there. I think that's a very adequate trip. I mean, you can easily spend a week there. That'll give you enough time, 1 day at each park, some carryover. I think that'll be totally fine. I think you'll have no problem at all. The only issue you're going to face is going to be the jet lag going in there. But in terms of it, if it's 5 days enough, sure, I think so. I think you're probably on the better end of that, as opposed to like when you get to like 3 or 4 or even less days, it's just not enough to do it all. So that'll give you a really good taste of what's to offer there. So yeah, you're good to go on there. Best way to get down to Fort Lauderdale. Okay, well, there's a couple of options because you have a lot of luggage. The one option that jumps out is to rent a car. Now, I'm not sure if you're comfortable doing that. Like, I'm not sure I'd be comfortable renting a car in your country, as an example. When you're overseas in general, it's tough to rent a car. There's different laws, everything's different. It's just, yeah, I don't know if that jives with you. But renting a car would be one option. The other option for you, the next best option would be to take the Brightline train. So here's what you would have to do. You would take Uber from Disney World to the Orlando airport, which is where you would pick up the Brightline. Brightline is a high-speed train that travels between Orlando and South Florida, which is where Port Everglades is. So you would take the Uber to the airport, and then from the airport, you go on the Brightline train, and the Brightline will take you right down to Fort Lauderdale, and then obviously you can go and spend the night over there. There's a couple of reasons why the rental car is better. Number one, you can keep the rental car for your entire trip. Like, you can have it when you're at Disney and Kennedy Space Center and a couple nights in Fort Lauderdale, which allows you to do so much more if you're not reliant on public transportation or Ubers constantly, and it's probably more cost effective that way. But you could use Brightline as another option there. The other problem with Brightline is because you have so many suitcases, you're going to pay a lot of money for the luggage fees, which they now charge for on the Brightline. It's not the end of the world. I mean, it's a problem you can solve with money, but I just wanted to point that out there. So I'd probably tell you should either rent a car or take the Brightline train. That's probably your 2 best options there. Thank you, Craig, for the email. Our next email is coming from Eugene. Hey, Matt, we have made specialty dining plans on Utopia of the Seas, but we're not able to make specialty dining reservations on day 1. The only days that show up are days 2, 3, and 4. Does Utopia offer specialty dining on day 1? And if so, can we make reservations in advance, or do we have to do that on board? You absolutely can eat at a specialty restaurant on embarkation day. There are a number that are open. Depending on the ship, there are different restaurants that are open for embarkation day lunch at specialty restaurants. Playmakers is one. Giovanni's and Chops are another 2 that I can think of. You can always read a past cruise compass, Eugene. It's a good place to start. Go to royalcaribbeanblog.com. In our main menu, there's a link that says Cruise Compass. Find a past cruise compass from Utopia, and you'll see exactly which restaurants are open. I'm not sure why you couldn't make a reservation on day 1. I'm not sure if you booked the dining package or you're making individual reservations. But regardless of that fact, you should be able to get in there. Obviously, for Playmakers, you don't need a reservation. Chops and Giovanni's, you do. So, but it's certainly been done where you could simply show up and go there. That wouldn't be a problem at all. So, but day 1, you can do that. Or you can also do it on board. I've done that as well, where I just simply show up. Because a lot of folks don't really think about it, having a specialty restaurant lunch on embarkation day. Most people go to the Windjammer. They're busy going to the pool or whatnot. So, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. And our last email is from Lisa. Hi, Matt. I am the resident vacation planner for my group of friends, 8 adults, 6 kids. I love to cruise and have been on several Royal Caribbean cruises. None of our friends have, though, been on one, and they're finally allowing me to plan a cruise for next summer. Selfishly, I want to try the new Icon class, but I'm worried first-time cruisers would be either super overwhelmed with the size of the ship or have extremely high expectations afterwards. As such, I'm leaning towards the Oasis class. Any thoughts on a large group, first-time cruisers going on Icon or Oasis? Lisa, honestly, I don't think your concerns are warranted. But even if they were warranted, I would say you're going to have the same issue with the Oasis class as you would the Icon class. I don't think it's a mistake to take first-timers on Icon class. I think it's actually the best idea you could have. Royal Caribbean did design it to be very appealing to, everybody, including first-timers. I don't think it's a problem at all. I don't think it's a mistake. I think that would be a great idea. So, yeah, the Icon class is great. The Oasis class is great, by the way. You should look at it as anything like that. When I was reading your email, I thought you were going to say, okay, so the Icon class, you want to take them on like a Voyager or a Radiance class ship. But between Icon and Oasis, they're more similar. They're both giant ships with lots to do. I don't think they'll be overwhelmed by the size. I think they'll just find it, I think they will find it refreshingly large. Like, I think a lot of first-time cruisers assume that cruise ships are very small and tight and constricted. When I talk to a lot of first-time cruisers, one of the most common reactions they have is, wow, this is so much more spread out and bigger than I expected. So I don't think you have to worry about that. Now, having extremely high expectations afterwards, that's a fair statement. You know, I've often had this debate. Or should you start off on a new ship, or does that ruin you for the rest of them, or start off on a smaller ship and then work your way up? I believe that cruising is like wine. When you probably first start getting into wine, you don't want to go for the weird, not the weird stuff, but you don't want to go for the extreme stuff. You don't want to go for the stuff that's like only wine lovers try. You try the basics, right? And you try the most popular wine that's out there. And then if you love it, and I think most people end up doing that, you start to find and experiment and find your way around it, right? And I think that's kind of true of cruising as well, where you start off with the giant mega ships and you kind of basically apply a land vacation approach to a cruise ship. But as you cruise more and you love cruising, you start to want to try other things and experiment and try smaller ships, other terms. That's how I felt when I first started cruising as well, which is, we started off on my first two ships were Explorer and Oasis. And then over time, I wanted to go on a Radiance class ship, or I wanted to do an Alaska cruise. I didn't want to do that off the bat. In fact, probably if you had asked me early on, I was like, I don't want to go on a small ship. But later on, I evolved into that and kind of, my taste changed. So I think starting off with an Icon class is a great idea. Thank you for the email, Lisa. Thank you for everybody for checking out this episode of the Royal Caribbean Blog podcast. Of course, you can find more episodes over at RoyalCaribbeanBlog.com. And of course, if you want to send me your emails, you can do so by sending to Matt, M-A-T-T, at RoyalCaribbeanBlog.com. Until next time, I'm Matt. We'll talk again real soon.